a day. One person on hotel alone would be spending 4,000 US dollars on hotel alone, leave alone the fuel, the transport. If you have 20, 50, 100 of those, that is the kind of money that the oil sector attracts. Now, the companies, the industries that are built, what they call petrol industry, petrochemical industries, there are so many. When you start a refinery, the industry that come out of that are so many. These industries for plastic chairs, some are Vaselines, others are for this oil, and there are so many industries from those oil products once the refinery starts in 2025. So in the next 2 years, when that thing starts, the level of businesses that will be generated will be just amazing. Now, having put the right policies in place, and the legal regime, the structure of the governance structure that they have already put in place to secure this sector. For me, it is very, very promising. It shows me that we really have a lot of hope that, once our people are sensitized, we'll be able to get the benefits that we all want. Like that sector governance structure really encouraged me greatly. But also the fact that these businesses are ring-fenced for Ugandans. All the businesses in the outer cycle all belong to Ugandans. All those, you can imagine all those, hotel, accommodation, fuel, emergency services, building camps, IT services, medical personnel, transportation, marine gas, oil supply, security, crane hire, general traders, facilities. There's so many. All that you see in black. I don't know whether, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Bishop, we can see it.
Yes, so you can see in black, they're all for Ugandans. Now, the one which are in blue, that is the middle, those ones, they are also for Ugandans, but they require a lot of capital, which Ugandans may not have. So what the Petroleum Authority has done is to require that if you're a foreigner and you want to engage in one of these businesses, you must have a Ugandan counterpart. A Ugandan must have a share in your company. So they can't give any foreigner any business in that blue sector without having a Ugandan. So those require a lot of capital. So many people can't manage, or some of them may require a lot of technical knowledge, expertise, which we may not have. But if you come as a company to do any of those businesses, you must have a Ugandan as part of your, as shareholder. Now, the ones in blue are too specialized. Those ones, those are the ones which are left for the foreigners. The ones in red, but every time there is a Ugandan, the priority is to give a Ugandan. The Ugandan has priority to get it first chance, and it's when you don't have Ugandan that you get. So what Lawrence, you're saying is important, especially for us who are praying.
we need to pray, but we need also to prepare. So on Monday, I'll be meeting Ugandan businesses, and I'll try to summarize some of this for them and make it simpler so that they all get involved. Those who can raise the money, and then we start to connect them to UNOC, because these are Christian businessmen. They are involved in various businesses and export. But I'm sure all of them, majority of them, don't know what is going on in as far as oil is concerned. Not many people are aware. I wasn't aware myself until I went. If you had asked me the day before we went, what oil is doing and whatever, I would never have told you. So I wouldn't have even answered even the least fraction. I didn't understand it. I had never bothered actually, and maybe I was skeptical, or I wasn't even interested. I would have been interested definitely, but I didn't even think I could get information. But our going really opened my eyes that I'm not just working for myself. I should be able to help our people, even if I myself may not be able to get involved, but I can help our Christians to get involved. What you see there in the background is it looks like a container, but these are houses. When you enter inside here, these are like a 5-star hotels. They are so beautiful inside. So beautiful. When you enter, you can't believe you are in a camp. These houses are very, very good. They are going to be, they will have so many workers inside here, and especially those who come from outside the country, they are not allowed to go out. So what you are seeing there as the residences, so they are very, very beautiful inside. As you can see, the fence, this is where the staff stay. If you're working for any one of these companies and you go to work, you go to Albertine region, they'll give you one of those inside. They are like a 5-star, 4 or 5-star hotels. Inside, the rooms are very good. They are air conditioned. Everything is good. So when somebody is there, even if he doesn't go out, because they are not allowed to go out into the field, they are not allowed to go and mix with the local people, fearing that they, they may impregnate them and leave babies and what. We laughed at this, but that's the requirement. The Petroleum Authority insisted that when you bring these foreigners, they should be restricted. They come in there. That's why they have to build for them very good houses. The food is very good. The facilities are excellent. You are just like you are in Serena, inside there. Outside, you can't tell, but when you go inside, even the workers, I studied where the workers were eating, and the place, these casual workers, they have a very, very beautiful, now they're still working on this thing as you see it from outside, but once they are finished, there is a wing that is finished. It is really very beautiful. So that's what this kind of investment actually does, because it increases the as Lawrence put it, everybody, people who are working there, they're going to put schools there, build schools, other amenities like hospitals, and so everybody who is working there will be living a totally different kind of life, high kind of life. They will be living in a city within a village. So that is the kind of thing. So now, let me now go back to what I showed you this, that you see, look, somebody who has been living like this and over 7 times and now lives like this. And then they build them houses of this caliber with water, with, this is the kitchen.
They have silos where they keep their CDO. This is the kind of life. So where these are some of the, like the people, 177 homes who were displaced by the oil pipe. So this is the oil pipe. This was the last one. You can imagine the last out of the 177 where the pipe is going to pass. Once you are affected, you are paid, they build for you. So this is the kind of money that comes into the country where you have such a big investment. That's why you hear those big amounts, because those big amounts include this kind of thing. Everybody who is affected has to be paid handsomely. If you are to displace them, you have to take them to a better place. Once you build a refinery like this one, you have to ensure the environment is not affected. A lot of money is injected into the economy, and if we prepare our people, then they will not be poor. They will benefit. They will certainly benefit. Okay, we can go back now, David, to the questions.
People that have not been around, and even you had not got any questions on into the lessons.
Your network is not very good. Hello? There were no questions.
Yeah. So far, there were no questions, Bishop.
Oh, okay. So so you are just sharing, yeah?
Because yes, I know that. So the lessons.
Your network is really bad. We can hardly hear anything that you are doing. So now I'm giving you chance to ask questions, because normally on Thursday, I want to answer those questions during the week when I'm teaching on several issues. I leave a lot of questions on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So what I do, and then Saturday. So what I always want to do is to use these Fridays, since we have enough time and more relaxed, we're at home. People are not rushing to work. I always want to use this time for us to discuss some of those issues that are left hanging, where you need more explanation, like what we were dealing with in as far as that Muslim thing that we bring about Israel. Then we've been dealing with the issue of anti-homosexuality. Any questions that might have come up in my sharing, I would like to handle them now. You are free to ask the questions. Muli badembo kubuza.
Bishop Mukama yebazibwe.
Amina.
Nze nja kubuuza ku kyamafuta kakatambi wasooka waako ku Lwokubiri lwa wiiki ewedde. Wagamba Abannayuganda oba kampani z'Abannayuganda baziwadde biliyooni 7 ez'essente, naye waliwo sofa kampani 2 eziri involved. Maybe nga waliwo kampani endala ezeetaagisa, naye nagenda obalamu za biliyooni, essente nnyingi ku muntu wa wansi. Naye omwami gwewajja naye ku Lwokusatu tuwaamuko naye highlight n'agamba nti musobola obeera eyo ne mwekolamu nga guruupu oba ne murayizinga ssente ne mubaako akantu ke muyingiramu nammwe ne mubaako we musaavinga. Kati nga njagadde okumanya bintu ki ebyo ebitono omuntu awansi atasobola kurayizinga ssente nga biliyooni ya ssente mwasobola okuyingirira aba basobola okubeerayo ng'abantu 5 ba 10 bane balwayizingayo nga miliyoni 10 ne bawezaayoko akasente ne baako nabo we baganyirwa.
Kati ekyo kyetaaga nga mwetaaga okuba kyenkugambye I'm going to be meeting the Ugandan business people. I'll be meeting them on Monday. I'm meeting them to mobilize them, to organize them in that what you're talking about now. That's precisely what I've just said. I'll be meeting them I'll share with them briefly on this and tell them about the opportunities that are available now and form them into a kind of, I already formed them into a consortium for them to be doing business and exports. So we already formed them, and tomorrow, that's Monday, they will be. So, but I'll be telling them, and you, in case later on you are interested, we'll be able to tell them so that they can include people like you who has your, say, 10 million or what, and different people. So they'll be forming, I asked them to form a kind of a cooperative where people have shares and what. These are Christian businessmen who have been involved for a long time. They have been in export. They were very happy that we were doing it as Christians. And so I gave them an assignment to work on it. And they have been able to do it well. So they are now going to give me a report and what they have done and what they are going to be, how they are going to be registering this cooperative. They have made it in the form of a cooperative because that makes it easy for other investors. It has less problems. Our discussion, they told me that it has less problems or challenges, and it can work anywhere within the country once it is registered. So those are some of the things we're going to look at and discuss. So you wait until we get through with that, and then we'll let you know. I'll let you know after Monday, whatever they will have put in place, what opportunities are available, and so on. I'll let you know. But for you are now in Saudi Arabia. So, but Saudi Arabia, you have some good money there. So I'll tell them we have some Ugandans in Saudi Arabia who have their good money. Nakasente kabwe. Sibo kiri sebo. Yovan.
Bishop, nsobola okufunayo ke nsobodde okufuna kubanga ng'omuntu nange alyagadde okubeera nga nkolera e Uganda.
Katulabe nga tucreating opportunity eyo abantu baffe abali mu diaspora. Lawrence, tujja kwetaaga for systems, your systems person. You can help putting good systems in place, financial systems. Some of these things require expertise. Tujja kwetaaga okuyambako mande gundi gye banaabandaze yonna nja kubanga njibategeeza so that we can open the door for many others. Naddala nammwe abali mu diaspora. So that is there. Okay, any other?
But then requesting, if possible, Brother Lawrence to share me his number. I don't know whether possible, but I need
sending the chat here on a person. Genda mu chat. Lawrence, awulira ndowooza.
Nsobola kanjimuweereza gy'agiraba mu chat box ye.
Genda mu chat box yo agenda gikuweereza. Okay, any other question or any comments? What I'm here the Thursday, Friday, they are mainly for answering your questions. Mede issue jemba ndese munaku ziri jemba mwetaaga okutegeera mbanjagala njiddemu sagala musirike busirisi kubanga nze n'ebirala bingi nnyo by'okubagamba naye sagala mbyongereka nlesi ayino nti biri bye mba nsharinze bitegeerekeka.
Nze kambuuzeeyo ekirala. Wadde otubuulira ku eba ku history ku lutalo lwa Isirayiri nti lugenda kubaawo until oba Kristo wanaajja ku nsi. N'ogamba ekyo kyava ku kikolimo kabaka omu mukyala we yaloota n'agamba kabaka oyo nti omusajja oyo talina musango. Erinnya livudde mu mutwe, sorry.
Yali Pilato.
Pilato n'anaabayo amazzi n'agamba nze kireme okumbalirwako. Abalala bo bali ne bagamba nti omusajja ono tumutte tubalirweko ffe n'abaana baffe. Kati ate nga tulaba nti mu byawandiikibwa batulaga nti ebintu byonna byabaawo nti oba byalina okukolebwa ti Kristo attibwe then oba abaagwa tuwangule. Kati nze mu kutegeera kwange ndaba ekikolimo ate tekyalibaddewo kubanga kyalina okubaawo ti mu kufa kwa Yesu Kristo oba mu kumukomerera ate mwe tuwangulira Sitaani. Oba ntegeerekese Bishop?
Kitegedde. Kakati question here is a very delicate the way most people understand it. Now, God in his foreknowledge, he tells you what will happen. He knows ahead of time, for example, that I'm going to create angels and then I'm going to create human beings. And then he foresees rebellion, that angels will rebel, human beings will rebel, and because human beings will rebel, I'll make provision for their deliverance, their redemption. Now, when he prophesies that, I was in a church in Kyabazara in Bugerere one day, and then the elders were handling a certain young man. He was committing fornication in church, and they brought him forward to, they reprimanded him and was refusing. When he stood up to speak, he said, "You've quoted scriptures, but let me also quote one scripture." So he quoted in Luganda, he said, "Ngana mwe musomedde byawandikibwa naye nkambasomere kubanga bye mumbudde byonna biri mu byawandikibwa naye nange bino byenkola nabyo biri mu byawandikibwa." N'abikula okuva n'agamba nti Mukama n'akakanyaza omutima gwa Falaawo n'agamba kati nze ndimu ekyo kyandikibwa ekyo, nze omutima gwange Mukama agukakanyaza kati nze kati mpuliranga ne bwe muŋŋamba mutya kati sigenda kukyusaamu era nze kati ntuukiriza kyawandiikibwa ekyo. Kati now there are people who interpret scriptures like that nti kati ye naaga nti ng'era Antichrist bw'agenda okujja kati singa ojja kanondeeyo ekyo nze kyekyo ngenda okutuukiriza. Ye Katonda bw'aba atubula ebinaabaawo tagagamba nti gwe genda kati obeere mu sayidi y'enkyamu. Amanya nti wajja kubaawo obuzibu, but gwazze n'akikola ekyo tosobola kugamba nti ate era kyalina okubeerawo era nze kangende nkikole.
That is not the approach. So Judas Iscariot, God knew about his betrayal. That's why he wrote about it. He didn't tell him that you go and do it. Everybody has responsibility for what they do or what they fail to do. For example, in the end times, so many people will leave the faith. Who will leave the faith? God is just talking about, because of his foreknowledge, he knows what will happen, but he does not tell you to go and fulfill that. So that is the point. I don't know whether you've understood it.
Yes, Bishop.
Kitegereka.
Tegerekeka.
Buli omu avunaanyizibwa okulokoka. Bangi bajja kulokoka, bangi tebajja kulokoka. Ati singa kutuuka mu guno oyimira mu maaso ga Mukama n'omugamba, Mukama nti wali engeri gye wagamba nti waliwo abatajja, nze kati ndi mu bano. Kati eyo toyinza giwanga nti nze kasana abanga waliwo abalala abatajja kulokoka, nze ne mbeera mu abo. O wagamba ekkubo erigenda mu Gulufunda liri eddala ggazi, kati nze n'ensalawo mbeere muli n'eggazi. No, you cannot use that. So kye nali nnyonnyola ku Israel nga nnyonnyola challenge gye bayiseemu emyaka gino gyonna 1900 n'entalo ezo zonna okubatuukako. The kind of massacres, the hatred, anti-Semitism is because of that curse. But in the midst of that, God said, I will protect them, I will still save them, I'll bring them back to their land, and I'll still save them. So that is the point I was making. The point was not so much about what they did or what they failed to do. I was just making the point that it's so painful when you hear how the Hamas went in and what they did to the Jews, and during their time of festival, they came up and did this. So it is such a big, and some people are saying, why would God allow this? Why? So I was explaining that, you see, many of these things are a result of that. It was a result of that curse, which was a self-imposed curse that they put upon themselves. There is this question now about Matthew 26:39. He went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Yes. So Jesus is struggling. Jesus, I want you to, the key word there is not my will. If it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. That is where the real key is. The key to this prayer is Jesus has come on earth to save us. But the pain is going to be too much. The cost is going to be very, very high. He's looking for an alternative. Is there a way I can save these people and not have to die this way? This particular cup, can't I save them and save myself at the same time? And the Father is saying, no, you have to go through that. Will to rebel against God. He had used his free will, starting with Lucifer. Lucifer had used his free will to rebel against God. Adam came and also used his free will to rebel against God. Now Jesus has come. This time is also in the garden like Adam. Adam was in a good garden, beautiful garden. He rebelled. He used his will to rebel against God. Jesus is also in a garden this time. This garden is not as good as the one Adam was in, but now he has to redeem the will of man. He's going to redeem the will by taking that will and submitting it totally to God the Father. That is part of our redemption. He's going to redeem the human will, the power, the authority that the devil took from man. How did the devil take it? By man using his will, his position, his power and authority to rebel against God using his will. So he's bringing the will back to submission to God. And this is the real battle here, subduing the will and taking it back, human will, surrendering it totally to do God's will. Not my will, but your will. Not my will. He prayed that 3 times. Not my will, but your will. Asking for strength. For Jesus, the issue wasn't the cross. The issue was doing God's will. What is important is not the sacrifice. What is important is to do God's will. You can do a big sacrifice when it is outside God's will. For example, they are making a big sacrifice. They are just like Jesus. They are also giving their life. But is it God's will? So the issue, what Jesus is portraying here, even this sacrifice, however wonderful it is, it has to be according to his will. What is important is God's will in our life. Our success is the will, the doing God's will. Success to a Christian is doing God's will, not necessarily to sacrifice, because you can sacrifice, but then don't do God's will. Those suicide bombers, they make a big sacrifice, but it's not according to God's will. So Jesus here is doing exactly the same. It is also suicide, but only that it is under God's will. Okay, my question is about priesthood. When David was running away from Saul, he went to the priests and he ate the sacred bread, which was meant only for the holy priests, and he did not die. Why did he not die, and yet he was not a priest? 2 reasons. One, at that time, David, if you look at the life of David, David was a priest, a prophet, and a king. If you look at his life, he in God's dealings with that nation, you can see that the David fulfilled that he could put on an ephod and work as a priest. That's why he came up with all these psalms. He was a prophet. He prophesied a lot about the coming Messiah as a priest and as a prophet, but he was also king. He represented his son Christ. Christ is a son of David. So he modeled Christ. So that question you're asking is exactly what Jesus quoted to the Pharisees. They came to him and said, "How dare you do this on the Sabbath? Why do you do this on the Sabbath?" The same question is what he posed to them. He asked them, how is it that David went to the showbread and he ate that bread when he was not a priest? And they could not answer that. And yet he was not a priest. The same question you're asking is what he asked the Pharisees, and they could not answer it because the priesthood, the order was changing. The priests were above the king. And now, during David, that changed. Then David, the king, was now above the priests. That's why David could organize, during his tenure, he organized the priests. He put them in 24 groups. He instructed the priests. So the order during this time changed, that what the priest could do now he could do because he was above them, and he could organize them, which was not possible before during the tenure of Saul and others. Moses gave the priesthood there. They were above the kings. They were instructing the judges and others. In David's time, it changed. David is now above the priesthood, and he's directing them and he's organizing them. But that only worked for him as long as they continued, these kings continued to do what was right. Later on, when the Uzziah tried to do the same, later on Uzziah was one of the kings in Judah. He got paralyzed and got leprous. And then he was removed because he was trying to interfere, which is something that was not allowed. David enjoyed that position of being a king, prophet, and priest. Okay, and another question, we still have some, 18 minutes? And another question.
Hello, good evening, Bishop.
Good evening.
Yes, I've been hearing about the fight in Israel. About Philistine ever since, in the Bible, it's always been there. Yeah.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, but Philistine.
Yes, they've always been in constant fight. Is it supposed to be like that? And is there land, like the Gaza Strip? I've always heard about the Gaza Strip fight, and I don't know where are they supposed to belong? Where are they supposed to be? Which is their land?
The Gaza Strip. Let's go back to Abraham when God calls him and says, I've given you that land. As soon as God said that, Satan mobilized the giants to occupy that land so that they would resist, so that Satan would resist God's will and God's purposes. That has always been the devil's way. He opposes God and God's purposes in the earth. Now, you'll find that when the children of Israel came back, all these giants were in the land and they started to fight them, chase them. Some of them they did, others they failed, and they always became a thorn in the flesh. So Samson tried them. He almost defeated them, but then he himself became a casualty of his own conquest. So it was a constant problem with the Philistines. And Gaza, those 5 cities of the Philistines. Now, in the end times, the key issue for us to understand is that the Jews rejected God. And they know it is their land, but they disconnected the land from the covenant. God calls Abraham. He promises him a land and an inheritance. The land is important because that is the legal ground for God to reclaim earth. I hope you will understand this. God wants to reclaim the earth, but he needs to start somewhere. For him to reclaim the earth, he needs that land there, that's why it has that kind of resistance. He tells Abraham, go into the land. Abraham comes and then goes into Egypt. He realizes it. So Abraham goes through 3 tests in as far as the land is concerned, and the 3 tests in as far as the son is concerned. So God takes him through 6 different tests. One is about the land, another one is about his children. Those 2 are very, very important. God wants to come back into the earth legally to reclaim the earth. For him to do that, he has to get a specific piece of land. That is the land in Israel, which is being contested now. The second is going to claim the people back.
So Abraham, therefore, has two assignments. One is to get the land, but then number two, to bring back the people. We who believe are the children of Israel, the children of Abraham. So the devil is going to fight that until the end. God is going to fight to get sure that he gets the whole earth, but he starts with the land. Now, when it comes to people, he uses Abraham to bring Jesus. So Jesus is the seed of Abraham. So Jesus is reclaiming all the people, Jews and Gentiles alike. They are coming back into the church. So the church is a combination of all Jews and Gentiles together. Those are the people God has reclaimed back. That is one. But then he has to reclaim the whole earth. The earth belongs to God. But the system on the earth, which is called the world, is the system that was introduced by the devil. The world does not belong to God. It belongs to the devil. But the earth belongs to God. But when God put the man on earth, he gave him the earth. So man is in charge of the earth. When man falls into the hands of the devil, then the devil has taken over the whole earth. So God has to reclaim the earth using or starting with a specific piece of land. And once he gets that land, now then it's like the launching pad to get the rest of the earth. So when you get to the book of Revelation, you find that he'll reclaim the whole earth, and he'll purge it. He'll purge it with fire, and then he'll establish a kingdom on earth. A kingdom on earth, which he'll establish on earth, will be ruled by the people, we, the children of Abraham, who have believed in him. We, who have, through the generations, have put our faith in God as Abraham did, and then it will become the New Jerusalem, which will come and occupy the earth. Now, let me again summarize it afresh. God intended to have a kingdom on earth. That kingdom was to be ruled by man. The earth is his, and the man is his. Man is going to set up a kingdom on earth. So the devil comes and deceives the man. So the devil takes over the man, and because he has taken over the man who has been given the earth to rule, now he has also taken over the earth. So the earth, which is God's, which belongs to God, now is being occupied by men who are not submitted to the kingdom of God. Now he has set up another system, another kingdom, which is not of God. That kingdom Satan has set up on earth is called the world. So in other words, now the earth which God created, occupied by Adam, God is man, who is his colonist or RDC. The RDC has defected to Satan and has gone with the whole earth. The earth and the man are now in the hands of the devil. So God has to make a legal re-entry, to re-enter legally into the earth. So he uses Abraham. Abraham, I'm going to use you to get two things. One is to get the land. You will start with a piece of land so that I can put a foothold there and use it as my springboard to reclaim the whole earth. Number two, I'm going to form you into a family, and then all the families of the earth may come back to me. So you have a twofold responsibility. Abraham, go into the land, build altars all over, but your children will not manage it yet. You are so few. So in the fourth generation, they will come back here, and this land will be my springboard. That's where I'm going to do what I'm going to use that land as a springboard to reclaim the whole earth. Why is the devil so keen on fighting that battle? Because
he knows the interest God has on that piece of land. God calls it my land. Specifically, he calls it his land because it is where he's putting his foothold. That's why he's putting the firstborn nation, Israel, in order to claim all the other nations. It is the firstborn nation. It is the legal ground which he's going to use to reclaim the rest of the earth. And so the devil is using everything in his power to resist that. But God is also going to use it to show the world that I'm still alive, I am still in charge, and he's not going to relent. He's going to make sure all the nations will come to know about him because of that conflict. Through that conflict, he's going to make his overall claim known to the whole world, to show the whole world that he's still alive. He owns the earth belongs to him, and therefore is in charge. So that is why Israel, the conflict is such a big issue now, because it's dealing with something very, very fundamental in God's purposes, and the devil is not ready to give in. Look at this scripture, for example. In those days, at that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, that means when I have brought them back to their land, I'll gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There I will enter into judgment against them. Who are them? Nations, all the nations, concerning my inheritance, my people Israel. Why? Because they scattered my people among the nations and they divided up my land. So you see, he has a people on earth and he has a land. Why does he need both? He needs a witness. The witness on earth that God is still alive, God is still in charge, is the nation of Israel. And Israel in their land. That is the witness. And so he's saying, I'm going to enter into judgment against nations. Why? They cast lots for my people, traded boys for prostitutes, and sold the girls for wine that they might drink. So he's talking about his land. You think about these two verses, they are very, very emphatic. And there are so many other verses, there's so many other scriptures talking about this, how it's going to be a major contest in the end times, because God will come personally to handle this matter. Look at in Isaiah 11:11, in that day, the Lord will reach out his hand a second time to reclaim the remnant that is left of his people from Assyria, from Lower Egypt, from Upper Egypt, from Cush, from Elam, from Ebab, from Hamath, from islands of the sea. He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel, and he will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth. So this is God himself saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to gather them myself. I'm going to do this. And all the nations will try to resist me, and I'm going to show them. In that day, the root of Jesse will stand as a banner for the peoples. The nations will rally to him, and his place of rest will be glorious. He's going to bring his glory back into this place, and he's going to show the nations that he's still alive, and the judgment of the nations that are going to resist him are going to feel it. Now, if you look at the history, that is the reason for the First World War. Why did God allow the First World War? Turkey, today it's called Turkey. It used to be the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire was in charge of the whole of the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire. It was so powerful. It ruled that whole area, what we call what we call today the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire was in charge. Let me show it to you quickly here, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire
ruled the whole of the Middle East. That's the one. So the whole of the Middle East, it covered all these places that you see. Now, why did God allow the war, the First World War? Ottoman Empire was so powerful. When the war started, the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany. The British and the others on the other side. Britain, France, Russia were on this side, while the Ottoman Empire and Germany and others were on the other side. During that war, Britain made a declaration on the 2nd of November 1917 that we support the reinstatement of Israel in their promised land. Because one man called Chaim Weizmann, who was a Jew, sat in a laboratory and discovered yazula obuganga umundu Britain bwali bugiweddeko nga bali mu lutalo. They were about to be defeated by the Germans. And he discovered he was a chemist. And then by that, the British were able to defeat the Germans and others. So the British government asked them, what do you want? What do you want us to pay you? He said, don't pay me personally. I want you to take us back to our land. If you take us back to our land, you will have paid me. That man came did a great work to get the Jews to go back to their land. He later became the first president of the nation of Israel. But the Balfour Declaration, Balfour was a friend of Chaim Weizmann. Balfour was the prime minister who made that declaration. And he made that declaration on the 2nd of November. 2nd of November, 1917. The moment he made that declaration on 2nd of November, then on the 17th of November, they defeated, the British defeated the Germans, the Ottoman Empire. The Balfour Declaration was made on the 2nd of November. The British defeated the Ottoman Empire on the 17th, 2 weeks later. So when Britain took over this Middle East here, Britain and France divided up all these Arab nations amongst themselves. They already knew ahead of time that they were going to defeat the Ottomans, and so they divided up this whole area. Russia was supposed to take over Turkey, but Russia, in that very year, fell under the communists, so they never took over Turkey. Turkey would have been a colony of the Turkish, of the Russians, but because the communists did not believe in colonizing, so Turkey remained. Fortunately, the guy who took over is called Atatürk, said, I no longer want these things of being a Muslim fundamentalists. I want Turkey to be a secular state. Turkey, until that time, was the headquarters of the Sunni. The Muslims have two groups, the Sunni and the Shia. The Shia, the headquarters of the Shia is Iran. The headquarters of the Sunni was to be Turkey. Sunni headquartered in Turkey, Shia headquartered in Iran. Both believed in an international leader who would be called the Caliphate. Caliphate is what we believe that the Messiah would come and rule the whole earth. Muslims also believe the same. Their Caliphate is their Messiah who will come and rule the whole world. So Atatürk denounced that. In 1924, he declared Turkey a secular state. And so like that Caliphate thing died a natural death. Britain took over this whole area and then managed to help. The League of Nations met, what we call United Nations today, and they said, we'll give you the mandate to be in charge of the Middle East. Let the Jews come back to the land and occupy. So they started to come back. Along the way, Britain turned around, changed their commitment, and that was the beginning of the fall of the British. However, the Americans took it over. They started to support the Israelis. And of course, you know the story of the Second World War. 6 million of them were killed by Hitler. And the whole world was appalled, and all the world supported their coming back to their land. So that's how now they are in their land, and it was God's doing. It had started in 1800s by the Zionist movement. A man called Herzl, who was a Jew, who believed in them going back to their own land. In 1897, they had the first Zionist movement in Switzerland. Now the movement continued through the 2 world wars and then ended up having the nation on the 14th of May, 1948. So that is a simple history, both combining the biblical part and the history part. The biblical part is that God wants a foothold on the earth in order to reclaim the whole earth. If I put my foothold there, I'll reclaim the whole earth. On earth, I needed the people. Israel let me down, but because they let me down, another nation which will bear its fruit is the church. So let me start with the church. When I bend the church, I will bow the world. So I want you to see both arms. One is the physical, another one is the spiritual. The spiritual is us, the church. The natural is Israel, the natural people, the Israelites, and their land. In those 2 ways, God is both reclaiming the earth and the system that is in the earth, which is the world. The world, he loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He wants the whole system claimed and changed, transformed so that he can reinstate his own kingdom on earth. I don't know whether I've answered Irene. Irene, do you get it?
Yes, I do get it. Thank you so much, Bishop.
Too complicated?
It was, of course, complicated, but it's much clearer now. Mm.
So those
Thank you so much.
So as we continue, I'm going to try to be able to simplify it more and more during the altars. Our time is done. Is Mpubane still around, or is God? Mpubane, are you still alive? Lawrence, can you end with conclude with a prayer? Our time is done. I'll continue to share some of the things as we go on, to explain some of these both the historical and the biblical context of all this.
Thank you very much, Bishop, for that great teaching, and thanks everyone for your questions. It means we are students and we do not just attend but learn, and I encourage us to prayerfully go back, revise, and I believe God begins to speak to us and to reveal things